Good morning, weather fans. Got my coffee, sitting here waking up, checking out the forecast, and we got some things to talk about today. We got some severe weather that is possible going across the southeast region today. You can see these storms, this line of storms is going to kind of blow into the southeast region and is almost there today. Lightning incorporated with this, and one thing I did notice is see how nice and tight and narrow that line is, how sharp that is. It just means that just ahead of this, you're going to have some damaging wind that is possible. It's going to be really windy ahead of this squall line. Alright, so we're going to take a look at the forecast of what is going on here today. So this is the National Weather Service's convection outlook for today. Oops, I already have that page. There we go. So this is an all hazards day. You can see that enhanced risk right there going over the southern part of Louisiana. And there is the tornado risk. We got that 2% marginal risk that goes all the way up into Arkansas and parts of the southeast corner of Oklahoma, stretching all the way through southern Alabama and Mississippi, and also all the way to Tallahassee, Florida. You can see that 5% risk right here for tornadoes in that region, or tornado possibility. There's that 10% enhanced risk that is right there for 10% chance of tornadoes or tornadic activity going through that. Wind today, there's that wind threat that is going to be ahead of that squall line as it blows through the southeast region right here. That 10%, or I mean that 15% rather, I'm sorry, wind threat right there. So even without tornadoes today, damaging wind is a factor. And hail, it does say less than 5% all areas, but you still could have some hail attributed with some of these storms, especially if they get a little bit more on the severe side and more intense. There could be a little bit. I think I think it is a low chance based on what I've seen so far, but we're going to take a closer look at what is going on with that. Currently, the atmospherics for this region we're going to check out right now. You can see that front that is right here, that is lifting. Got some boundary lines and things like that going across here. This is going to be pushing those storms along. That warm sector is really coming up there. 70s down here in 60s to 70s, all the way up to 80 down in the southern part of Texas down here. So from, there to Houston, 80, 77, pretty warm there. Our dew points are already up over 60. In pretty much all areas around this region right now, 67, 73, and 77. So it's a pretty nice wet sector down there, which is going to further make the atmosphere a little bit more unstable with that. Our CAPE levels are already kind of reaching up into this area where we're getting 1,000 to 2,000 joules of CAPE per kilometer. So that's going to show a little bit of that instability that's going up into the atmosphere. Definitely unstable enough. Here's our bulk wind shear for today. This is going to be draping over to the east where we're getting those 60s and 70s all the way from 50. So anywhere from 50 to 70 knots it looks like. 80 in some parts as far as that bulk wind shear. Got a lot of wind that's going to be stirring up here, and that can really get thunderstorms kind of spinning and rotating today. Alright, our surface vortice is out of the area right now, sitting there marginalized over Texas. Kind of the eastern half of Texas, but as it drapes to the east, as the storm kind of moves along and follows this line right here, that is going to bring that surface vortice ahead a little bit to the east. Alright, supercell composite is already there. Very high levels in southern Texas right now, but as it moves further to the east, even in these light blue shaded areas here, we're going to have some supercell development that is going to be possible throughout the area. The tornado parameter sitting there marginalized over southern Texas right now. This is probably going to spike throughout the afternoon once we get into that unstable air mass over this area right here. Alright, so helicity, we do have some bottom level helicity that's going on. That is going to be moving up into this area and really jolting those storms with a lot of strength. And of course our LCL, already 500s and 750s it looks like, so our LCL is pretty low as far as that's concerned. So let's go over to Pivotal Weather and we'll check out the high-res model. So the high-res model is here. So let's take a look at some of the sounding data and see what we're looking at for today. Let me see if I can regionalize this so we can kind of take a look at what what we're seeing here through, especially through the Louisiana region where we're getting that high enhanced risk. We kind of want to see how that's going to cooperate here. So that line of storms kind of moving through, that's what we were seeing currently right now. Then you start to see these little isolated cells popping up. Any one of these could be it could have some supercells developed in here. This air mass by this frame is probably already going to be really unstable atmosphere. So let's check it out. Alright, so it is unstable. You're getting that curvature and that wind field right there. That's going to be aiding that surface vorticity and the ability to get things spinning up. Hydrograph looks good. You got that big nice curve there with a nice storm structure. Supportive updrafts. Supercell development. Already reading over 2200 in surface cape and wide wind bar. So cap is broken. It's not a huge break in the caps, but you can see all that moisture going up into the atmosphere and a little bit of a jolt of heat, and that's that the heating that's going to come here. That daytime heating is not going to help your severe probabilities. It's going to make it a little bit worse in the way of instability. Alright, so we're getting a lot of spotty cells right here, these little tiny spotty cells that are just kind of popping up here, and they're very isolated, and that any one of those can hold some supercells in them and get spinning up for some mesocyclones to roll out. And it seems like every one of those frames is just a nice wind field, getting plenty of wind in this area. These are higher levels of surface wind. You got that nice curvature there that's going to be assisting that surface vorticity. Alright, so as it moves into this area, then we see it's all little isolated cells, and that's that's where that tornado threat is going to be at. Is any one of those cells could be supercells that could drop some mesocyclones, and you could have some tornadoes out of that. All of these are coming off of the Gulf where it's nice and warm and moist. So that nice, warm, moist air mass is going to be moving into this area, and that's going to really help that instability really roll out. So right now at the 19Z hour in this frame, we're looking at how it's kind of continuing along, and that's the biggest problem today. It seems like is just those isolated cells that just keep randomly spawning and popping up here. And we're getting that, it looks like relatively it looks like a lower end tornado threat, but it doesn't mean that you can't have a couple here today. That surface cape is 2380, it looks like right here in this frame. LCL is real low, a little bit more of that curvature, but nice wind fields, just real nice stable wind. And so that's going to be a factor as far as the instability goes. And then right here, where all these isolated cells are up in front of the squall line right here, this is probably going to be the peak time for this. Let's take a look. Yeah, a nice big gap in the break in the caps here. That curvature in the wind field, plenty of wind shear going into this area. Nice wide wind barbs, supercell development going on. Got a good hydrograph. So I would say that the tornado threat is relatively on the lower end, but I don't think, it's not zero, you know what I mean? Until we get further into the day, then we get this, and there's a little bit of dying down wind shear on the surface level, but not very much higher up into the atmosphere. We're getting nice stable wind. And then a big jolt in moisture that is up here in the atmosphere, so you're going to get that hot and muggy kind of feeling before this kind of comes. This would be the peak time for really this to happen, where you're getting a little bit higher ends of tornado threat throughout this entire region in Louisiana going through today. So definitely a couple of tornadoes is possible. Just be weather aware today, because this is one of those days where it's going to be hit or miss. I don't think, it doesn't look really to me like this is going to be a day where they're going to be kind of going up and down in their intensity, where they're going to ramp up and ramp down and ramp up and ramp down. It might not be one of those cases today. So I think that it would just be one of those cases of, are we going to have mesocyclones in this area, and are they going to drop tornadoes? because some drop tornadoes and some never do. Sometimes they just form, and then they just dissipate, once they move out of this area, and they just keep going. It really depends on how fast the storm moves through this area, it looks like. But then on the other side of that, though, you have this squall line of storms here, which all along this line, all the way into the Gulf, anywhere along this, you could have supercells popping up. And then behind that, we have another thin line of storms coming behind it, going into Arkansas and Louisiana, Mississippi, where we have that unstable atmosphere here, and it's going to go into that area and start ramping up for some storm development. So it does look like, in all of these frames, it does look like the tornado threat is on the low end, but it isn't zero. So we definitely could have a couple of tornadoes that, a couple of them could be a little bit intense, and or they might be on the lower end. It's hard to say, it's hard to predict something like that, but a couple of tornadoes throughout the day is definitely possible. Alright, so going over that way we know a little bit about the threat of what we're looking at today. This is the convection outlook for tomorrow, where you're getting that tornado threat blowing off to the east before it reaches out to the Atlantic. So parts of North Carolina have that 2% marginal risk, parts of the southern portion of Florida, and that 5% risk kind of going through the middle right there through South Carolina, parts of North Carolina, probably the very far eastern edge right here of Georgia. Southern Georgia right here has that 2% marginal risk as well, and then right through the center of Florida, you're all getting that 5% risk there for tornado development that is possible. Wind threat is going to carry over to the east, where you're getting that 5% and 15% risk through most of these coastal states. So damaging wind is definitely possible. Same situation with hail. It says less than 5% in all areas, but that doesn't mean that you can't have hail, because usually when you have storms that roll out tornadoes, hail is always a possibility. Because some tornadoes, when they form, some supercells, some mesocyclones, as soon as they start forming and everything, some of them bring hail and some of them don't. Regardless, throughout the southeast, one thing that the southeast has problems with is that even during the daytime, when tornadoes form out here, anywhere in the southeast really, especially like states like Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, these states right here, if tornadoes roll out, they're going to be completely 100% rain wrapped, and it's not going to be a good situation. Do not try to look for the tornado, because I tell you, you're not going to see it until it's right on top of you. So this is not a day to go and get your phone and start filming tornadoes. It's not a very safe situation. So please, if you get those warnings, go to a safe place, move to an area, get safe, have that plan in place, be weather aware today, and pay attention to your local weather stations and the warnings that they put out. It's very, very important for everybody's safety. So that is the forecast for tomorrow, which I will be doing I'll do another live stream on that tomorrow when I know a little bit more information as far as the predictability of this going into tomorrow. So I'll do another stream on that and forecast that either later on this evening or tomorrow in the morning when the National Weather Service updates a little bit more information on that, because I'm sure that even with this convection outlook, this slight risk a day ahead, there's probably still a little bit of uncertainty and unpredictability in this. So they should update this report by this evening or tomorrow in the morning. I'll do another live stream on that. So this is what we're looking at for today is this area that right here. We got Baton Rouge in here, we got Lafayette, we got Eunice, Lake Charles, all of these areas around here. This is where that peak time for severe weather is going to really, really ramp up. And then also in this slight risk area, you could have tornadoes in here too as well, which is a pretty wide area. Even if you don't have tornadoes today through that slight risk, damaging wind is definitely going to be possible. Torrential rainfall. We also have a lot of lightning attributed with this. Some of this lightning could be cloud-to-ground lightning, and that's that positively charged. Some of it's that positively charged lightning, which is like 20 million volts and everything. So be on your lightning safety today as well. So just batten down the hatches and prepare for the storm as it comes along, and have your property secured, your family in place for that plan to stay safe today. All right, so I'll do another, like I said, I'll do another live stream on tomorrow's forecast later on, and I hope everybody stays safe today, and thanks for watching.